Don't let that astonishing X-Men casting or the interesting Doomsday special look distract you from the fact that Marvel just dropped the first trailer for VisionQuest, and it looks like it's going to be one of the best shows in the entire genre. It's about time they remembered that this show existed too. They've been talking about this for almost a year, and now we've finally been blessed with the White Vision. Oh no, I'm gonna stop saying that name out loud now. That sounds very problematic. But I am so incredibly excited for this show. Who would have thought that 5 years ago, a show about Wanda and Vision would have had this much of an impact on the MCU to the point where we are now at this big culmination of a whole trilogy of shows? Wait, WandaVision was 5 years ago? Oh, that sucks. I don't want to think about that, so let's just dive into the actual trailer. First off, the overall concept for this show is so exciting and fascinating to me. Every new thing we learn about it gets me more and more hyped. The Vision having all of his memories, but none of the emotions tied to them, is such an interesting pitch for a story of self-discovery. After Vision's death in Infinity War, one of the things I was most worried about when they introduced the new Blanco Vision, when they introduced this new Vision, is that he was just going to get all of his memories back and be the Vision as if nothing ever happened. You gotta make that death matter, so the idea of dedicating an entire series to understanding who the Vision is and what makes him so interesting of a character is going to be very rewarding as they earn that right to bring the Vision back and let him be the Vision to his fullest extent, even more than he was in Infinity War. Plus, considering the fact that the Vision has been around for over a decade in the MCU now, he only really started to become a three-dimensional character in WandaVision, and then he was ripped away from us again. So I'm very glad we're going to be getting this time to dive into the core of this character and find out what literally makes him tick. In VisionQuest, he is effectively trying to work backwards from the end point of him already being a hero in this inverse of the hero's journey, and I think that is the coolest idea ever. Unlike other Marvel shows where they finally become the hero at the end after teasing it the entire season, here we are already starting out at that point. It's going to give us a whole new fresh perspective on what it means to be a hero as we get to emotionally resonate with the Vision and understand what his true purpose is as this unguided machine. I especially love the choice to make it so that while he's going through a daily internal existential crisis trying to figure out what he does now with his life, in the real world, he's living in Scotland to try and recapture the magic of his relationship with Wanda, hoping that his time there will help him find those emotions again. It's a really sad life when you think about it, as he's practically a ghost walking in his own footsteps trying to understand the human condition. That right there, this central idea of the Vision being an emotionless machine trying to understand what emotions are and why humanity does the things they do, trying to figure out how he fell in love in a past life and rekindle those feelings by retracing his steps, is by far what I'm most looking forward to in this show, as it feels like a true character-driven story that needed to be told. It's not just a Vision show for the sake of a Vision show, no. It is an inspired pitch that comes from a place of passion, as the Vision gives us a new perspective into the soul of humanity. On top of all that, with a character like Ultron appearing in the show, I promise, just hold on, we're gonna get to him, it gives me faith that this story is going to be just as much about AI as it is humanity, showing us the dangers of AI, which could not be more timely and relevant. Nowadays, it feels like you can't go 5 goddamn minutes without having some ugly, uninspired, and harmful AI slot machine shoved down your throats. So even if it's not a one-to-one comparison, just getting a Vision show about how detrimental AI can be and how it's only through human compassion and creativity that you can truly feel alive, that's gonna be the most satisfying thing in the world. I'm more excited about that and having a Marvel show that openly says, F AI, especially after what they did with Secret Invasion. I'm glad they learned their lesson, and very sorry I made you see that again. Than I am about the Vision getting a new costume, and that says a lot, because I am in love with this new design, and thank God he finally got an upgrade. I didn't mind the previous Vision design we had in Age of Ultron, Civil War, and Infinity War. It was still recognizably the Vision, but it was also very much so a product of its time with muted colors and so much unnecessary paneling. You take one look at this new design though, and it is night and day, as this feels like the Vision from the comics. We only get a brief look at it, and I'm sure we're going to have to wait until the end of the show to see it in full, but just putting these up side by side, it is clear that they improved the costume in every feasible way. The overall blueprint of the design is so much more simplified, as they got rid of all those lines and paneling they put in to try and make him look more techy and inorganic in favor of a streamlined costume. They have finally embraced the bright red, green, and yellow colors to give us a fully saturated design for the Vision that is bursting with creativity that feels so in line with this show's overall messaging. They even went as far as giving him the collar. While it's not as big as I'd like it to be, it is a step in the right direction, and I am so glad that he finally has it, because outside of his forehead gem, it's pretty much the most iconic part of his look to me. And on the topic of that forehead gem he's got going on, it's blink and you'll miss it, but this design change comes with a new gem in his forehead after he has finally replaced that stone. I really hope they confirm that that is the solar gem from the comics, which is what the Vision is traditionally powered by. The Infinity Stone stuff was completely made up for the MCU, and I do think it really worked, but I do love the idea of him being powered by the sun because it makes him feel more organic in a way, as he gets his life force from the same thing that powers pretty much everything on the planet. Also, when you think about it, it's a very fun metaphor for how the Vision needs to get out of his own head and go outside more. Basically, the Vision needs to start touching grass. Overall, though, I am just extremely happy about this new design for the Vision because he looks incredible. Honestly, you could say that about the show as a whole because the visuals in this trailer are gorgeous. Obviously, it's very WandaVision inspired with the tone and aesthetics of a fake reality. Pretty much everybody in this family needs hardcore therapy, but I would go even further to say that cinematography-wise, it looks even better than WandaVision. The real world looks so rich and full of life with these deep shadows cast over the Vision's clouded headspace. All of that is great, and I could stare at it for hours, but it's inside of his own mind where this series truly captures my attention. Those uncanny, oversaturated colors are a delight to look at that fills this show with so much energy and intentionality. And the set design is stunning and radiant as the Vision tries to make his own head feel as proper and fancy as possible. It's a really great way to show how Vision is overcompensating as he's trying to make things too perfect, so much so that it looks off. They are directly telling us a story through the visuals alone of how Vision misunderstands humanity, overlooking their flaws and not realizing that that is what makes us so special. And when you have a sterile and spotless location like this, it gives you a really eerie feeling as it's almost too good to be true, as if something is just waiting to go wrong, which it does in the most glorious possible way as the Vision's head is flooded with so much unwanted dark imagery. This faultless and immaculately crafted world collapsing in on itself as the Vision's mind begins to shatter is going to be so trippy to watch as his code can't handle these human emotions and we get this unnatural unreality. I really hope they go all out with that and embrace the horror shift like WandaVision would, but go even further with it as it's not restrained to these small moments and we get entire sequences living in that dread. Little moments like that shadowy figure glitching in and out where the Vision used to stand, or the haunting red lighting and techno seance could be sick as hell if they just go all out with it. Let this be a proper thriller as the Vision sees how scary it is to be human, yet he still chooses it because those warm moments of comfort and creativity are worth the pain of being alive. Oh my god, man, this is the kind of stuff I love to see Marvel make. It is an experimental, character-driven story that takes risks and plays with genre, all while pulling from all of these different comic inspirations to make something that feels brand new. I am over the moon excited for everything about this show, but especially the fact that Ultron is finally making his return to the MCU here. See, it only took us, 7 minutes, but I promised you we were going to talk about Ultron. How could I not talk about Ultron and the prodigal son finally returning home like this? God, how I have missed hearing that snarky voice. Say what you will about Age of Ultron, and trust me, there is a lot to say about that movie, from the awful Hulk and Black Widow romance to the weird adaptation changes they make to Thor's magic bath, but I think we can all agree that James Spader had a great voice for Ultron. Even if they did make him joke around a bit too much in that movie, the way he was able to snap from a snarky, sarcastic robot to a threatening killer in an instant was perfect. And anytime he was able to dial in, he showed he could be the hateful, vindictive Ultron I was hoping to see, which makes it an even bigger crime that we haven't seen Ultron since then. Perhaps the biggest missed potential out of any MCU villain ever? Listen, I like Age of Ultron, but the fact that Ultron, the guy who always returns more spiteful than ever and is impossible to kill, hasn't been seen in 11 years is crazy. Oh wait, no, sorry, I got that wrong. The last time we saw Ultron was on a cruise ship, and they still haven't released that footage in HD, so what are we doing here? Thank God VisionQuest is fixing that and bringing Ultron into the story in a very natural way that feels right. I love everything they're doing with Ultron in this trailer. My biggest hope is that if possible, they can find a way to kind of fix Ultron's personality and lean into that bitterness more as they expand on his motivations. Just hearing about how much he talks about fatherhood in this trailer, I have very high hopes they're going in that direction and will actually do Ultron justice. Ultron's obsession with family has always been the most interesting aspect of the character to me, and we have not gotten nearly enough of that. Because of the fact that he's an AI, he never had that bond or sense of community everybody else has when growing up, because he never got to grow up. He just is and always was from the moment he was born. So to see that idea fuel his hatred as the Vision's son re-enters his life is going to be incredible characterization as he reminds everybody who the top hater is. A story about generational trauma being passed down as each new generation becomes more and more human, from Ultron to Vision to Tommy, could be gold and gives me so much faith in this show's ideas. Even though he wasn't built by Hank Pym in the MCU and his his creator is long dead and rotting by now, so we can't explore the fundamental aspect of Ultron hating his own father as much as I'd like, still seeing him have this obsession with hierarchy and his pure disdain for humanity will still shine through in this show and give us the Ultron I've always dreamed of seeing. If you'll allow me a moment to wildly speculate for a second, I think Ultron's role in this show is going to be as a master manipulator, playing nice, at least for Ultron standards, and then once he's finally put that seed of doubt in the Vision's head, that's when he lets the mechanical monster out and we get this big final fight between the Vision and Ultron. Given Ultron's line of saying, "Free us all and save your son," I wonder if Vision's mind matrix is effectively holding all of these AIs hostage. Kind of in the same way that Wanda held an entire town hostage, but not as unforgivable. Maybe they'll act as this captive audience for the Vision as all of the different parts of his mind interact with each other as he tries to work through what part of him makes him the Vision, including coming to the realization that he will never be free of Ultron and just has to accept that is a part of himself, but that does not define him. You could also do something really interesting there and have it so that if Vision frees any of the other AI, Ultron also gets out, and that's his big escape plan. There's one brief shot in this trailer I haven't been able to fully crack as we see some kind of body in a hologram here. I can't tell if that's Ultron, Vision's new design, or maybe both. But given how Ultron works, I'd be shocked if that wasn't him trying to build a new body for himself by the end of the show. I really hope that's the case too, because I am dying to see more of Ultron in the MCU as a reoccurring threat. Just please let him build another body, guys. So what, he tried to do a global genocide and will probably try and do that again. I want to see the Robot Man be angry again. Wait, you know what? I just got an epiphany right now because thinking it over, what if that's Jocasta? In the comics, Jocasta was created by Ultron to be his robotic wife in a story that very much so parallels the Bride of Frankenstein. So what if that is Ultron's big goal here? What if he's become jealous of the companionship the Vision found in the Scarlet Witch and wants to have that for himself, no longer locked all up alone in the attic and given a companion to probably try and take over the world with together? You know what? I'm calling it right now. That is exactly what's going to happen, and I am beyond excited to see it. Ultron's not the only AI that's going to be in this show, though, as we're also going to be joined by the return of James Darcy as Edwin Jarvis. You don't understand how much this means to me. As someone who was practically raised on that early era of Marvel television, seeing Jarvis again is a beautiful sign of interconnectivity I have been dreaming of. It wasn't just one little cameo in Avengers Endgame. We are finally going to see Jarvis as an actual character again. It might technically be a different version of Jarvis being personified, as this is the AI, not the human butler we saw in Agent Carter. But for all intents and purposes, I really hope that James plays him like that version of Jarvis because I miss him so much. So to bring that kind of infectious energy back into the MCU as he's interacting with Vision now makes me incredibly happy. It's also really great to see him because every time he shows up I can push my Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. being canon agenda, considering that he was in Agent Carter, which crossed over with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so it might as well be canon. Joining him are inclusions we should all be equally excited about, as Dummy and You are being personified in this show. Tony Stark's clumsy little assistant robots have now been given life in this new way. And considering just how much more advanced the other AIs are over them, I think it'd be so funny if they were just the dumbest people ever. I need them doing Dumb and Dumber bits the entire time in the background, but still play an important role in this series to show the importance of relationships, because, I mean, look at them. I know what they get up to at night. Then rounding out this group is, of course, Friday, Tony Stark's replacement AI that took over after Ultron killed Jarvis, and Edith, who you can only really see in this one shot right here, but showrunner Terry Matalas confirmed that would be Edith, the AI in the glasses Tony Stark left to Peter Parker, which he gave to my goat Mysterio to destroy London. Nothing of value is lost. What's really interesting about Friday, Edith, Dummy, and You being in this show is that none of them were part of the original code that created the Vision, so it makes you wonder, how are they getting mixed up in here? And I think gives credence to my theory that Vision is kind of holding all of these AIs hostage as they're on the same neural network. One thing I really do love, though, is the fact that all of these AI are in their human form. Obviously, that was done to cut down on the budget and not have Vision and Ultron in their final forms for the entire show, which I have to respect. But what I love about it most is that they found a narrative reason to justify it, which makes it more interesting than seeing Vision and Ultron the entire show. Having Vision demand everybody to be human is a character-driven choice and his subconscious way of attempting to spark those same emotions he had when with Wanda, as he's basically trying to force this family dynamic to recreate the situation he was in there to try and help jog his emotions. It's another sad and twisted way to show how far the Vision has fallen, as he is just desperate to get back to that lifestyle and actually feel again. It would be one thing if the Vision himself was staying human the entire time to show how he's afraid to embrace the AI part of himself as he's trying to force himself to become human. But the fact that he's making everybody else do it as well is a really cool and interesting way to show how fractured his mindset is as he yearns for a life he never lived. That being said, they are completely allowed to get away with that, but I need there to be one shot where we get to see everybody in their true forms, just so we can see Vision and Ultron with all of this impressive CGI and prosthetics, all while Dummy and you are robotic arms in the background, and if Friday is a flash drive, that would kill me. Also, while we're talking about AIs who are going to appear in this show, I'm pretty sure that Jim Hammond, the original Human Torch, is being teased for VisionQuest. Considering that it has somehow been 15 years since the first Avenger, I gave up all hope on ever getting to see that Human Torch Easter egg pay off. But if you look at this painting they had on display at D23, that surely has to be Phineas Horton's synthetic man, the original Human Torch, Jim Hammond. If there was ever a time for the MCU to actually bring him back and pay off that Easter egg, now is the time to do it, and I am praying that they make it happen. With all of the different diverse AIs in the Vision's head, it would be so cool to see how this synthetic man from the 40s operates up there. Even if it was just a brief cameo, it would heal the Captain America fan inside of me, knowing that his teammate on the Invaders got the chance to live after all. All I ask is that we get a flashback sequence of him burning Hitler to death. If we get that, I'm going on the record to say I will personally buy 6 Disney Plus subscriptions. I am that desperate to see it happen. The only character I might be a little bit more desperate to see in this is Ada from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. For the better part of a year now, scoopers have been teasing this rumor that VisionQuest was going to have a connection to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. You already know how much I want Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to be canon. If we get an Ada appearance, or even a reference just confirming that Vision knows of her existence, I'm going to give this show 5 stars and never stop glazing it. I need this so bad. Please, Marvel, this is your one shot. Don't blow it. That's honestly one of the coolest things about VisionQuest to me, as there are MCU connections aplenty. Don't get me wrong, I love when Marvel shows are standalone and work within a bubble, but there's something special about a show that is so proudly set in the MCU, pulling in all these different kinds of lore to tie the universe together and push it forward. The fact that they're going to Madripoor in this, that rocks. It is such a cool location that the MCU has done nothing with since the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, so to bring it back in this way feels incredibly natural, especially because I have no clue how it fits into the show right now. Everything else we've seen feels so self-contained within the Vision's head, so the fact that we're going to Madripoor is very exciting. Maybe it has something to do with one of the villains of this show, Paladin, a mercenary who's been hired to hunt down the Vision. First off, he looks incredible. This costume was ripped straight from the comics, and we are all better off for it. But secondly, I have no clue who could have hired him to try and kill the Vision. We just don't have enough context clues to put that together yet, but I really hope that's an ongoing mystery throughout the show that Vision is trying to unravel in the real world. Hell, for all we know, it could be Philomena Kunk, someone we know has been cast in this show in a mystery role that's connected to Paladin. I know it's unlikely, but Marvel has the opportunity to do the funniest thing ever and just let her play Kunk in this show. You can't tell me it wouldn't be peak to see the Vision talk philosophy with Kunk. That would be incredible stuff. And then, finally, as if all that wasn't cool enough, I've saved the best for last, as this show is going to be introducing Tommy Shepard to the MCU, better known as Speed, and one of the last remaining Young Avengers we need to see. Considering the last time we saw him, he was dead, drowning in a pool, I am so excited to see him in the flesh after he's been reborn. I will say, it was a little jarring to hear him, but I guess that's just on me not being prepared for him to be Scottish. I mean, it's fine, I've got no problems with it, I wasn't expecting him to be Scottish, even though the actor playing him, Rory Malika, very much so is. You know, when his casting was announced, I'm honestly embarrassed it took me this long to put together the fact that they cast a Scottish actor to play the Vision's son after he spent so much time in Scotland. That makes so much sense. Why didn't I see that coming? That makes things so much easier to tie them together, which is great, because I don't even want to try and get into the Tommy lore in the comics with his origin and how the MCU could be adapting that. It is a mess to work through, but just know that he's very cool, and I love that they're introducing Tommy in a show like this on his own. When you compare him to his twin brother Wiccan, Speed doesn't get nearly enough spotlight in the comics. In that initial volume of the Young Avengers, Tommy appears in the third to last issue. Sure, he does get to be on the team after that, but most of the time they're doing stories that center around Wiccan. Tommy is always paid dust. Even when they bring the Young Avengers back a few years later, he's mostly there for one arc. Marvel editorial hates him, so to see VisionQuest making Tommy finally feel important means that this might be one of the few adaptations that is actually better than the comics. And considering the fact that a deep cut like coat of arms is in this show, somebody who Tommy met when he was in juvie, I have full faith they're going to do him justice. The creative team clearly cares about the source material and is going to bring Tommy to life in the best possible way. As for his origin, we do get a little tease here that he's been arrested already, and if I can just make a long shot prediction right now, I think that they're going to replace his time in juvie with him being locked up by damage control. It'd be a really easy and smart way for Marvel to connect things on a synergy level, but as long as he gets his ass thrown in prison, I'm happy. I do hope we find out what happened to Tommy Shepard's body after he drowned though, before Tommy Maximoff's soul inherited that. In a morbid way, it would be kind of funny if he woke up after dying when the new soul took over, and then immediately vaporized his bullies like he does to the school in the comics, and that's what puts him on Damage Control's radar to get arrested. I assume his arc in this show is going to be similar to that of Billy's in Agatha All Along, as he's trying to find his missing father, but I can't exactly connect the dots on why yet, and I love that. The less we know about this show, the better. I want to be completely surprised. Then, after they reunite and Vision finally gets to feel human, hopefully Tommy can get his comic-accurate look with the white hair and green speed costume. I would be shocked if they didn't do that for merchandising reasons alone, but I just want to see him finally put on that costume in live action. But here's the thing. With Tommy now entering the MCU, it means that for the 5th time, we are finally one step closer to getting the Young Avengers in live action. Marvel has been selling us on this promise of the Young Avengers forming since 2021. If VisionQuest doesn't do anything to make that happen, we're going to have some serious problems, so I'm gonna call my shot right now. The post-credit scene is going to be Vision learning about the incursions as the Avengers failsafe protocol activates. In the comics, that protocol exists for the next generation of superheroes to take over if the Avengers were to ever go missing. With an incursion on the way, there has never been a time where the Avengers are going to need more backup than this, so please, for the love of God, activate that failsafe protocol and start putting the Young Avengers together. We've all seen that leaked concept art for Secret Wars. We know they're going to be together in that movie, and also Chris Pratt's going to be there. And Dupe. They got a lot of stuff to do, don't they? But now is the time to start putting those wheels in motion. If they're real, they'll even let us get an appearance from Ms. Marvel, and of course, my beloved Kate Bishop as Vision and Tommy approach them to start putting this team together. You might think I'm going crazy, starting to do my usual spiraling, but let me tell you something they don't want you to know. Kevin Feige met with Haley Steinfeld at D23. I don't care about no goddamn Pixar movie. That has to be a positive sign for Kate Bishop, and this is where it happens. This has to be a way we get Kate Bishop back in the MCU, and they're trying to take me away. They're gonna put me in a padded cell. Don't let them silence me. Kate Bishop will be in this show, I know it. Okay, I think I got away from them, so on that note, I'm just gonna go ahead and end things there. Why don't you just let me know what you thought about the VisionQuest trailer? I would love to hear what everyone has to say and continue the conversation down below. And while you're at it, make sure to give this video a like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. If you don't do it, I'm going to unleash Ultron. Yeah, that's right, I've had the code for Ultron on this hard drive for the better part of a decade. I've been the reason he's not been here, so you better subscribe or I'm gonna end the world.